Welcome to From the VC's Bookshelf, a podcast from TBR, the College System of Tennessee, the state's largest higher education system. In this series, we examine how we might re-envision the work we do and how we work together as we move into a post-pandemic world. Please join our host, Dr. Heidi Lemming, Vice Chancellor for Student Success, as she leads a live discussion with industry experts and leaders throughout our system.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're excited to do another interview with our SOAR finalists in this podcast series. The Statewide Outstanding Achievement Awards and Recognition, or SOAR, celebration recognizes individuals who have been nominated by their institutions as being among the best of the best in the categories of faculty, staff, and students. This year's finalists went through an initial interview process where they were selected as a regional winner that then moved them on to our final statewide competition. And in this podcast series, I'll be showcasing the regional award winners in a short interview so that listeners can learn more about the faculty, staff, and student finalists from across the TBR system. It's my hope that by learning more about the regional finalists, listeners will get a sense of the amazing stories and backgrounds of the individuals who work and learn at our institutions. Okay, so today we have our student finalists for our technical colleges in the TBR system. And they just finished their final interviews yesterday here in Nashville. We're excited to have them join us today for a panel discussion so you get to learn a little bit more about our TCAT students who made it to the final round of competition. And so to start with, let's share with our listeners, maybe in a 2 to 3 minute introduction, a little bit about yourself. So your name, your institution, what you're studying, and anything else that you think people might be interested in. And so I'll start with Robynn, and we'll just kind of work our way around. So Robynn, welcome, and again, congratulations on being a finalist.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Robynn Hollis. I am a returning student, older than all of my classmates and some of my teachers. I am in the nursing program, practical nursing program at TCAT Dickson in Dickson, Tennessee, and I am supposed to graduate at the end of April. I'm really excited.
Great. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Next, Paige, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Paige Isbell. I'm from the TCAT Crump Institution in Crump, Tennessee. Blessed, it's like 2 miles long. It's not very big.
Yeah.
I graduated in December of 22 with the Farming Operations Technology Diploma, and then I had a specialty diploma in livestock production management. And I work at my local vet clinic. I raise livestock on the side. I raise goats and sheep. And, yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. Denzell, your turn.
Good morning. My name is Denzell Lowery. I attended TCAT Chattanooga. I took up industrial electricity because I wanted to be an electrician. I also graduated in December 22. And the program was great because my instructor was a woman. It's very rare that you see a woman as an electrician. So she made me feel welcome and confident when I went to the open house. So that really sold me on it.
Great.
And now I am currently an electrician at Young Electric.
Oh, awesome.
Congratulations on being employed so quickly. Well, one of the things that you were asked in your interview that I think our listeners would be interested in learning and hearing from you about is just talk about your time at your institutions. Denzell, you already started here, so we might start with you on this one about, tell us about a person. It might have been a faculty member, like you just mentioned, who made a significant impact on you, and just maybe describe that impact, what that meant. And I'm going to let you start first because you started going there in your introduction.
I'll make it quick.
Okay.
For me, it was 2 people that kept me inspired. Number one, it was my instructor, Miss Sandra. She always just made us believe that we could accomplish anything. The book work was dreadful, but the hands-on work was so great. She just gave us so many understanding ways to learn how to do things, and she always believed in us. She pushed us and challenged us, so that made it fun. Then my classmate, who was also my coworker now, David McCroby, he went through some things early in his life that kind of affect his decisions now. But with all that going on, he comes to class. He came to class every day with a smile on his face, motivated, cracking jokes. So he made class fun. So I made sure that was my partner for 3 semesters. And we got everything done. The environment was great. Just being in that class just made me believe I could do anything. It was very impactful to my life now. So
Yeah.
with and without tools, we learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah, that's great. I like the personal connection you made with a classmate too, and how that got you through. And that's one of the things that's really cool about our TCAT programs is you're brought in kind of as a cohort of students. So you get to really know your classmates really well as your faculty member, because they're with you every day, right? Yes. So you develop a strong relationship with your faculty. Great. Who else wants to go? Who wants to go next? Robynn or Paige?
It don't matter.
I had 2 people at school that really inspired me. The first one is actually it's 2 faculty members and 1 student. Miss Sugg at TCAT Dickson. She's such a cheerleader. She's so happy. She comes in with a smile and really boosts everyone's mood every single day. The second teacher is Miss Burns. She's a math teacher as well as other subjects, but she and I both love math. And she would humor me when I would dissect the word questions and pick out the question, the information that was not even math related. And to this day, she and I share information on what we find interesting in research. And then the student, my partner, just like Denzell had a partner, my partner Natalie, she's been a CNA for many years, and she really helped me to understand where I was and what I was doing in my first clinicals, because I did not come from the medical field. And I found her to be invaluable, and we're really good friends today.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Great, Paige.
I had probably 2 faculty members, and then my best friend now was my classmate. Mm-hmm. So I'll just start with my faculty members. The 2 people that probably influenced me the most was my instructor and my programs coordinator. I remember being we were probably a month in, and he's like, my instructor, Mr. Brent, was like, hey, we have a gravity wagon we need to work on. And I was like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. And he was like, well, who wants to use the cutting torch? And I had been talking all morning. I was like, man, I just want to do it. I want to use the cutting torch. Never touched one a day in my life. Didn't think I was ever going to for a while. And I was working on the front of it, and he came around. He said, hey, Paige, what are you doing? I was like, oh, nothing. What do you need? And he's like, well, go over there and get you some gloves and a safety shield and some goggles. You're fixing to use this cutting torch. And I remember just being so excited. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm so excited. And he was like, well, I'm not going to show you how to light it yet. He's like, you'll learn that later on in the course. He's like, but I'll light it, give you a little rundown. I'll show you how to do it, where to cut. And I was like, okay. And here he is. He shows me. He's like, all right, and just hands it off to me. Everybody in the classroom, at this point around me, they're like, okay, Paige, you got this. Don't burn the shop down. I was like, I'll try. And I just cut it off. I was like, that felt really good. I was like, I cannot wait for the welding course. And he was like, see, nothing to it. And ever since that day, it's always been like, hey, Paige, do you want to be the first to drive the combine down the road to our new field? Yes, I do. I've never drove a combine down the road. I was like, yes, I want to do it. And then Miss Sadie, she's been with me from the beginning. I met her in high school. She's our dual enrollment coordinator, and she signed me up for dual enrollment. And as a senior in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm going to a 4-year after this. Not having any second thoughts. I don't know what I'm going to study, but I was like, I'm going to a 4-year, I guess. And she came and she actually spoke about a TCAT in the agriculture program they had at Crump. And I was like, oh, I've got to learn more about that. And so I got in touch with her, and she set me up with a tour. I went, visited. I was like, this is where I'm going. I was like, I'm going here. And ever since then, she helped me. I was very active in the FFA in high school. Mm-hmm. I served on a nomination committee for state officers. It was so cool. She helped me from the beginning to the end in my career. She helped me with scholarships, with competitions. I remember she came to school late one night. I was practicing. It was probably 8 o'clock. And it was a competition I never thought I'd compete in. I'm not much of a public speaker. And we sat for 2 hours, and she's like, this is how you can do it. And I remember I competed like 2 days later, and I was like second in West Tennessee, and I was like, oh my goodness, like what the heck? But it was so cool. So she's been there through it all. She's given me endless opportunities. Hey, Paige, you want to speak at the Capitol? Here's your speech. Let's practice together. I'll get you prepared. And then probably my best friend, Lindsay Dunn. We're the exact same person. Everybody tells us if you have a soulmate best friend, y'all are made for each other. And she has showed me that, hey, be yourself. Don't care what anybody else thinks. Just do yourself. Be you. Vibe on your own if you have to. But she was really impactful for me, and she's older than me by like a few years. But it really was inspirational for her she come in and was like, she was the one that showed me, hey, you can volunteer for stuff. It's okay, and you're gonna fail, and it's okay. But just keep trying.
Yeah.
So.
That's great that you have such a good support network with friends as well as staff at the institution.
That's one thing that I noticed during the first term is that there were lots of little groups of students from the third term when I was a first term student, and everyone seemed to have a partner. And I realized, just a short time later, how impactful that would be to have someone that you would have your back and help you when you would help them. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing experience.
Well, and I would say every student who has a real positive experience probably has some kind of connection like that made it very impactful for them and helped them get through. And Paige, Sadie is also a finalist this year for Staff Member of the Year.
That's wonderful.
I remember when she told me, I was like, I cannot believe this. We get to go to Nashville together. I was like, we're going to have so much fun. I was like, but you're driving us. And she's like, perfect.
Well, she's still working even though she's a finalist. But yeah, so our listeners, you'll have to look for that podcast as well, because we are interviewing Sadie in this series. Well, you guys kind of started talking about this a little bit, particularly when you're talking about like dual enrollment and how impactful that was and kind of guiding you to a TCAT and getting familiar with the TCAT. And you had mentioned you were originally thinking you were just going to go to a 4-year. What would you say to an 8th grader, right, about college and career and like convincing them to think about attending a TBR institution after graduation? Because I think a lot of people just naturally, the first thing they think about going to college is thinking about a university, right? And so there are other alternatives. A 4-year institution is not necessarily for everyone. So if you were put in a position where you had to go into a high school or in a middle school and influence a student about their options, what would you say to them?
Absolutely, I would say to consider vocational school, especially if school is not your thing. If you're thinking, I just cannot wait to get through high school so that I can live my life, give it another year and a half. Take a program to give you a really good start in your career and then build on from there. Or if you think that you'd like to go to a 4-year college, take advantage of Tennessee Promise. Do that for 2 years and then transfer. It'll give you some more time. I think that a gap year is great for some people, but for some people it'll derail them. So definitely go straight from high school into a vocational type program or a 2-year if you're not quite sure if you'd like to attend a 4-year. Mm-hmm. If you'd like to attend a 4-year, have at it and take advantage of it. Regardless of your choice, definitely give it your all. Give it 100%. Also, keep learning how to learn. That's very important. My first term, I hadn't been a student in 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I looked around and I saw what everyone was doing. And I adapted my way of learning based on what was being taught and what I learned from other students. So definitely go in there with your eyes wide open and take in all the invaluable knowledge, but also how to learn and how to apply it, not just in the classroom, but also in life.
Yeah,
in general.
And that's great, Robyn, because, as an adult learner, we also a lot of times just think about that recent high school grad, but there's a lot of adults out there who life happened. They didn't, maybe they started, didn't finish, maybe they just went straight into work, but it's never too late.
I retired at 51 and gave it a year and then decided to go back to a school. I'd always wanted to be in the nursing profession. Mm-hmm. So this was my way of becoming a nurse and giving back to my community. Definitely want to work in my community.
That's great. What about the other two?
Robyn, that was very insightful. You're going to be teaching the class. You keep it up.
Denzell, what would you say to an 8th grader?
Well, like Miss Hollis, I was one of the second oldest in my class. I think my only regret in life might be not knowing about the TCAT programs earlier, because this was my 4th time going to school.
Okay.
I would tell an 8th grader or someone coming out of high school that the importance of a TCAT program is that you gain work experience. It goes on your resume as a year worth work experience after you graduate. It prepares you for the actual workforce, and you also have the potential to make the potential earners of someone with a bachelor's degree. You won't feel expendable. You can take your job anywhere with you, because I believe it's welders, HVAC, electricians, and automotives. Those are jobs needed everywhere.
Right.
So I would shed more importance on those.
Yeah, there's a lot of portability.
Yes.
And everyone needs those folks to do that. Paige, anything you wanted to expand upon in your response? I know you talked a little bit about the dual enrollment piece already, but...
Yeah, I would probably, if I had to talk to an 8th grader, which they're probably take it with a grain of salt, but I would let them know, hey, you have all these options. When I think of like after high school, before high school, I mean, I like to break it down as to you have the workforce, you have a community college, you have trade schools or technical schools, and you have a 4-year. And I mean, I think everybody should have an after high school experience, whether that be going straight to the workforce. Several people in my graduating class went straight to work, and they've worked every day, all day, and they enjoy it more than anything.
Right.
But I mean, I would tell them all their options. Especially, I would probably say if you didn't know what you wanted to do, I would probably stick with more of a community college or a trade school, just so you can kind of dabble in what you might want. Like if you think you want to be a welder, try a trade school. I mean, just go and see for yourself. And if you don't like it, you can always change. There's nothing wrong with changing. And I would lay it all out. I wouldn't lie to him. I'd just be like, it's going to be hard, but you can get through it.
Right.
Whatever you choose. So I mean, and for a high schooler, like I told you, I was planning on going to a 4-year. My brother graduated from a 4-year university as an educator.
Yeah. And
I was like, I want to go to a 4-year, but I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what career I want to be. I knew I wanted to work with livestock or animals in general, but as far as being what I am now as a vet tech, I never knew that I could do that at the comfort of being so close to home and little to no cost.
Yeah.
And like the knowledge that I've gained at the TCAT, I can sit here and tell you all day long of how cool. I could walk you through like just about month by month about everything we learned and how we learned it. And it wasn't just like one thing. Like I touched on everything, and it was amazing. And I just sit them down and tell them everything.
Well, and you still have ahead of you, all of you. If you wanted to go on, you would have that ability.
Yes.
This is not the end. And as Robynn explained too, coming back later, so it doesn't have to be a straight line, right?
Yeah, and I'm planning on going back for my ADN in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow. Well, I know like with our TCAT at Crump, we have an articulation agreement with a 4-year university, the University of Tennessee at Martin.
Yeah.
And if I do decide, hey, I want to go to the University of Tennessee and get my bachelor's in animal science and then maybe attend vet school afterwards, I have a year of credit hours behind me already for TCAT to go towards my agriculture degree.
Right.
Now, I have a little bit more since I took a few summer classes with the University of Tennessee at Martin, but it gives me a pretty big boost. But
yeah, it's
I don't have any plans for now about it, but it has been on my mind and I have been thinking about it.
That's great. Well, and obviously you're here because you're a very motivated student to begin with, right? And you really took advantage of all the things that were offered to you at the TCAT and saw that value. And so I think that's really important to emphasize that obviously when you get into the workplace, and Denzell, you're already there, but that you can serve as a mentor for others, and you can kind of talk about that. So whether it's an 8th grader or an adult, when you get on the job, I hope you will continue to share that experience with others.
Absolutely.
So 2 of you have already graduated. One of you is nearing that timeline. So when you think about entering the workforce, what advice would you give to that first-time student about how to approach their education, their experience? So We know that you're kind of the best of the best here. So how did you make that happen as a student? What advice would you give someone coming in?
As a student that may not be familiar with college level assignments, it's very important that they understand that organization is paramount. Also, attending class regularly, doing the assignments, turning them in, studying, not just listening to lectures, and really giving their all, and understanding that this is not high school, that you really have to put the time in. You really have to crack those books. You really have to do your review. And yes, you will lose some of your leisure time and television watching time.
Yeah.
And if you're on social media, just set all of that aside and realize that the school has to be your main priority. And to me, that's what's very, very important.
Right, to be successful.
To be successful.
I think I would bounce off that and say, I mean, you've got to prepare yourself for the studying and all the things you do outside of the classroom. But I would add that just step up. Like, if somebody's like, hey, who wants to try this or who wants to do this, don't be afraid to raise your hand. Just be like, yes, I want to try it. And even if you fail, what's the worst that's going to happen? Nothing. They're just going to be like, okay, you're just going to try again.
Another learning experience.
Right. It takes practice and it takes time after time. I mean, you just go for it. I don't know.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
I didn't stop any of my social media.
All right, well.
However,
Well, you're special then,
You can balance
Denzell.
both.
however, there were some late nights that were required for finals and chapter tests. But I would say, first off, it's okay to fail. Nobody's demanding that much of you simply because you're 17, 18. You literally just had to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. So nobody is demanding that much of you. Just be strategic. Just make sure this is something, whatever you choose to take up as a major, just make sure that's something you see yourself doing 10 years from now. Because the goal of life is to find your purpose and make sure you wake up saying, I love my job. And make sure you remember the end goal, because there are going to be some good days in class and some bad days. It's going to be stressful, but it makes for a good story when you are able to graduate.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing that separates the students that are successful a lot of times from those who are not, is just the perseverance. All of you probably had something that was an obstacle that you had to work through. I think everyone has that in different ways. But you got to keep plugging along. And all three of you mentioned how you leaned into the staff and other classmates to help you get through. And that's important, to have your support network to help you get through that process.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. It was a great opportunity to get to know you all better, your stories. And I have to say, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
On making it here to this point. And regardless of the outcome, so the listeners should know by the time this is released, we will have the winner announced. But right now, the three of you don't know who that is. And so regardless of the outcome, though, I mean, you should feel really proud about the fact that you are here and a part of this awards ceremony. So again, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this edition of From the VC's Bookshelf, brought to you by TBR, the College System of Tennessee, powering the state's economy and changing the lives of thousands of graduates, starting successful careers each year. To learn more about upcoming book selections or to register to attend discussions live, visit tbr.edu/bookshelf.